Hello everyone. I welcome you all to this lesson. Today I am going to discuss on the topic Little Talk, which is composed by Ellen Fisher. So here I begin. And before that, let me ask you, have you subscribed to my channel? If you have not subscribed up till now, then please do. And watch the video till end. And press the like button if you have liked it. And I'm sure you are going to like it. And yes, don't forget to press the bell icon for my latest notification. So children, let us start this beautiful poem by Ellen Fisher. The poem Little Talk encourages us to imagine that beetles, bugs and bees have conversation on various topics. This is a humorous poem about the insect world. In this poem, the poet imagines what kind of discussion insects have among themselves. So children, until you spread your wings, you have no idea how to fly. So in this poem, I am going to tell you what the poet wants us to know about these little tiny creatures. Now children, I'll tell you something about the poet Ellen Lucia Fisher. She was born on 9th September 1906 in Iron River, Michigan. She received her bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Michigan in 1927. She became the director of Women's National Journalist in 1928. She was an American writer of more than 100 books for children. She thought of herself primarily as a poet, and her poems are frequently used in textbooks. In 1978, she won the National Council of Teachers of English Award for Excellence in Poetry for Children. She died on 2nd December 2002 in Boulder, Colorado, at the age of 96 years. Now children, I'll tell you about the poem in short, written by this famous poet. As we all are human beings, we communicate our thoughts and feelings with others by talking to them. While talking, we can express our feelings to other persons. Now, in this poem, the poet encourages us to imagine that beetles, bugs, and bees, these small creatures, they also have conversation on various topics like we human beings did or we are doing. They also communicate among themselves on various topics. This poem, children, it is a humorous poem. Why it is called a humorous poem? Because in this poem, it is not written, but the poet assumes or imagines that the insects like the beetles, bugs and bees, they communicate on various topics like the climate, where they live, or what kind of work they do throughout the day, etc. Children, you will surely enjoy this beautiful poem. Now children, I am going to read this poem. Please listen carefully each word and its pronunciation. So my first stanza is, and the lines of the first stanza are, don't you think it's probable that beetles, bugs and bees talk about a lot of things? Such things are these. Now the explanation of the first stanza. Don't you think it's probable? Where the word probable means certain. It's possible that like we human beings communicate others, we talk with other to express our feelings, our thoughts, our ideas, to share our thoughts. We talk, we communicate. Now, don't you think it's probable like these small creatures like beetles, bugs and bees, where bugs means any small insect, talk about a lot of things, such things as these. Now the poet is going to tell us like we human beings communicate with others, similarly likely these small creatures, these little creatures like the beetles, bugs and bees, they may also be conversing and with each other on various topics. And children, what are those topics? And the topics can be the following. So now let us move towards the second stanza. In the second stanza, the poet has mentioned about the topics, and the lines of the second stanza are: the kind of weather where they live in jungles tall with grass, and earthquakes in their villages whenever people pass. Now the explanation of the second stanza. Here the word earthquake means sudden shaking of the ground. So these small creatures also talk on various topics like we human beings, we are human beings, and we also talk to other persons, or we may also converse on the topics like weather, where we live, or the area, and we are having numerous topics to converse. Similarly, the poet is telling us that these bugs, beetles and bees, they might also be talking on the topics like weather, where they live, in jungle, tall with grass, or earthquakes in their villages whenever people pass. This line means that the poet thinks that they feel the earthquake. They means beetle, bugs and bees feels the earthquake when people pass by their village. Why children? Why do they feel like that? Because people are much bigger than bug. That is, we human beings are much bigger in size than these small and tiny creatures like beetles, bugs and bees. Yes, we are. If something bigger in size passes near us, that is from our side, then we human beings also feel shaking and tremor around us. Similarly, when we huge creatures passes these tiny creatures by their villages where they live in jungles tall with grass or somewhere else, whenever we pass through their way, they also feel tremor or shaking like the earthquakes, as we human beings also experience in earthquake. What do we experience, children? We experience the movement, the sudden movement of the earth, the shaking of the ground. That is the earthquake which we human beings which we human beings feel. But these insects, bugs and beetles, they feel earthquake when we human beings pass through that way. Maybe their houses may be stampered, or they may feel the shake like we feel. Now children, I move towards the lines of the third and the last stanza, and the lines are: of course, we will never knew if bugs talk very much at all, because our ears are far too big for talk that is so small. Now the explanation of the third and the last stanza. Now, in this stanza, the poet says that we will never know about the actual talk they communicate among themselves. So the poet is just assuming or imagining the topics on which they might converse with each other. But in actual, we will never know if bugs, beetles, or bees talks a lot because we are much bigger in size than these small and tiny creatures. And if they produce any kind of sound and you are unable to hear it easily, why? Because our ears are far too big for talk that is so small. We are very big in size as compared to these tiny creatures. Now, if they produce any kind of sound or if they communicate in their own language among themselves, we will not be able to hear it because of our bigger size, distance, and our ears are also too big for their small talks. So, this was the poem about little talk. Hope you have understood it and also enjoyed it. Now, children, did you know that most of the bugs have 6 legs, spiders have 8 legs, and centipedes have more than 100 legs? Understood? So now, children, I will discuss the question and answers based on this lesson, Little Talk. I hope you will be able to answer them before you hear my answer. So my first question is, what are the insects named in the poem? So the correct answer is, the insects named in the poem are bugs, beetles, and bees. Question number 2. What do the insects talk about? And the correct answer is, the insects talk about weather and earthquakes. Question number 3. Where do the insects live? And the answer is, the insects live in the jungles tall with grass. Apart from these, they also live on trees, flowers, leaves, etc. Question number 4. Why are people unable to hear insects? And the answer is, people are unable to hear insects because of the distance and the size of human beings are much bigger than these small and tiny creatures. Question number 5. When people pass by, why does it feel like an earthquake to the insects? And the correct answer is, this is because they are tiny creatures and their houses are also very small. And when people pass by, might be their houses would shake, so they think and feel like earthquake. Question number 6. What is special about this poem, Little Talk? What does it teaches you? And the answer is, the special thing about this poem, Little Talk, is that even the small and tiny creatures have their own world where they converse about their problems, surroundings, etc. This poem teaches us to care for each other. Question number 7. What does the poet refer to would happen when the people would pass? And the answer is, the poet refers to the earthquake would happen if people pass. Question number 8. Who is the poet of the poem Little Talk? And the answer is, Ellen Lucy Fisher. Now children, I'll tell you the moral of the poem. This is a beautiful, humorous, and amazing poem where we learn it is not only the human being, what we learn is that it is not only the human beings who expresses their thought, but their thoughts, feelings and ideas by means of communication, but even the insects and all the tiny creatures too converse and expresses their thoughts, feelings and ideas with each other. So the moral of the poem Little Talk by Alan Fishers can be the following, and they are: number 1, we should care for each other. Number 2, from caring comes courage. Number 3, the best thing about bugs is their lack of self-consciousness. Also, the ability to fly doesn't hurt. Number 4, nature will bear the closest inspection on every little things. Number 5, all creatures, small and great, are the lovely creation of God. Question number 6, moral number 6, kind words are like honey sweet to the soul. So children, you can pick up any one or two, whichever you can learn, and write down if the moral of the question comes into your paper or into your questions. So dear children, with these words I end my lesson. Hope you have understood it nicely. You know children, if you think you can do, then positively you will reach your target. So enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize that they were the big things. Hope this lesson will be beneficial for you in your studies. Thank you.